All right, back on the record in the Simpson matter, the defendant's again present with his counsel, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Bailey, people represented by Mr. Darden, Mr. Gordon, and Ms. Lewis. And I see we also have Ms. Hamburger on behalf of Marguerite Thomas. All right, good morning, counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, I believe Ms. Thomas's counsel is here as a result of being ordered back after the body attachment issued and so forth. It's our decision not to call Marguerite Simpson to testify. So I don't know if the defense wants her ordered back for their case or not.
Well, if we want her, we'll make arrangements to get her out. So.
All right, then the body attachment will be recalled and quashed. And Ms. Hamburger, thank you, and you and your client are free to leave.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
All right. Also, Your Honor, this morning I filed 2 motions in limine to preclude certain testimony. One of them deals with
Excuse me, is there something funny? Thank you.
One of them deals with Christian Reichardt, who I heard Mr. Cochran indicate he had asked to come back this afternoon. Obviously, I've filed and served these this morning. Does the court want to give an indication? Let me let you know what the other brief is. The other one has to do with a witness called Lori Menzione, who had a telephone conversation with the defendant in Chicago. The motion in limine is to preclude her testifying to that conversation for insufficient foundation and hearsay reasons. She is sort of toward the end of the list of 9 or 10 witnesses I believe they gave us yesterday, so may, I guess, possibly hit the witness stand late today at the rate the witnesses are moving along. Perhaps the defense can give us a better indication of when they expect she would hit the witness stand. Lori Menzione.
All right, so I take you're filing 2 motions in limine to preclude certain testimony.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Cochran.
Your Honor, first of all, I haven't seen motions thus far, and I just received them. But Ms. Menzione, as far as I know, arrived here late last night from Chicago. She is here, and at the rate we're proceeding, we could possibly get to her today or this evening or tomorrow morning, the earliest. And Mr. Reichardt, Dr. Reichardt, rather, was here yesterday. I asked him to be ordered back today. We have a number of witnesses today, so it just depends on this. But obviously, I'm going to ask the court to allow us to have until 1:30 again today because I've got witnesses even coming in over the lunch hour to keep the pace up. And, you know, I'll get a chance to review this. I haven't had a chance to even look at this, and I've got a witness on the stand now, so we'll look at it. And once I determine what these areas are, we'll just refrain from going into them until we can work that out. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to hold up witnesses who have flown in from Chicago. I'd like to put on all the witnesses where there's no controversy. If there's a controversy regarding a witness, put them at the end of the day or do it the next day if possible. And I'm sure, you know, I got a lot of calls last night. I'm sure the court was kidding about the pace because I was rather breakneck yesterday. We'll try to do that also.
The court reporters told me that they thought that comment was serious.
They thought you were serious?
And they were going to make arrangements to have transportation available for them sometime 8 or 9 o'clock tonight.
Is that right? Well, we thought you were kidding because I'm sure Your Honor was impressed with the speed with which we proceeded yesterday. But we'll still do what we have to do.
No, I do expect us to keep up, however, a good pace.
All right. We expect to.
All right.
After this is our idea, Your Honor, so we want to do it.
Counsel, and believe me, I appreciate that for every hour of presentation in the courtroom, there's probably 100 hours in preparation.
Right, it's tough. And, you know, as the court could appreciate, we were up till 11, 12 o'clock last night. And Mr. Douglas was this morning seeing witnesses who flew in from Chicago. It's too late to even talk to last night, so you can understand that. But we'll do it. And for Ms. Lewis, I haven't seen these yet, but are you going to argue these?
Yes.
All right, well, then we'll chat about those after the noon hour.
Which you expect to be at 1 or 1:30 or?
Tell me what you're doing.
1:30 at this point. Sure.
I just informed the people of a witness who called me late last night who had relevant testimony, it appears, on the time of the barking dog or dogs. I have asked that witness to come to court this morning. I will make that witness available to the prosecution as that witness will be available to us. And we'd like to keep this case going, keep this case in order, And this witness just came to our attention at about 10 o'clock last evening. I have given the people her name and will make her available to them immediately.
All right.
I don't mind this witness testifying tomorrow. I had a chance to talk to her, but I think to just give me a name, one which I can't read completely, by the way. 2 minutes ago was.
Oh, Mr. Darden, this is just Mr. Shapiro putting on the record that he's given you the information.
Okay.
We're all aware of it. I'll give you reasonable time to interview this person.
If I could also have her address and.
I don't have her
Correct.
address. She's coming down.
And the correct spelling of her.
I've never
If
met
the
her.
witness is going to be here this morning, however, she'll be available to be interviewed by either yourself or one of your investigators, one of your colleagues.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right. All right, let's have the jurors, please. I'm sorry. Whoop.
I think Mr. Douglas has a matter, but I have one.
Yes, sir.
If it please the court, yesterday you heard a reference to a witness, Lang, and you heard a reference to a white truck in the cross-examination of Francesca Harmon by Mr. Darden. I discovered yesterday, for the first time, since we have been working with Mr. Lang, that a tape recording of his observations that night was made almost immediately after the events and turned over to the prosecution many months ago, together with a sketch of what he saw. And he says that at 10 o'clock at night, he saw a large white truck, somebody in the truck, a blonde woman he now recognizes as Nicole Brown Simpson, discoursing with the person in the truck, and someone standing near the entrance to her gate in a menacing posture of Caucasian or Asian descent. Now, I think it's an absolute outrage that this clearly exculpatory evidence, putting her in the company of someone else who could possibly have figured into these murders, has not been turned over to the defense. And I ask that you order that it be turned over forthwith and that we find out why it wasn't at some point. Meanwhile, I'll inform the court that Mr. Lang's lawyer is having the tape transcribed by his secretary, and I'll make it available to the court as soon as I get it.
Mr. Darden, what about this?
Who are we talking about, Heidstra or Lang?
Lang.
That's Ms. Clark's witness, Your Honor.
Do you know any?
I haven't heard the tape of Mr. Lang.
What about the sketch?
Do you know anything about a sketch?
No. Not about the schedule.
All right. Well, when Ms. Clark arrives and we're in a break, we'll find out.
I'm sure Mr. Darden will convey to her my concerns.
All right.
You can convey them yourself. She'll be right.
Mr. Douglas?
Your Honor, I just want to put on the record.
Excuse me, Mr. Darden. Direct your comments to the court, not to counsel. Mr. Douglas.
May it please the court, Your Honor. I want to simply put on the record that this morning I have given Mr. Darden a packet of 13 x-rays of Mr. Simpson, which we intend to use with Dr. Maltz, who will testify probably next Monday. I'm also handing to Mr. Darden reports that were faxed to his office last night, a 2-page report from Herbert McDonald, as well as a 2-page report by a Dr. William Martell, which Dr. Maltz used and will perhaps refer to during the course of Dr. Maltz's testimony.
This is asked to the arthritic condition.
Correct. Martell is a radiologist about the x-rays.
Okay.
Excuse me, Your Honor, for purposes of scheduling, I have a witness on a tight schedule. Will you start again at 1 or 1:30, as Mr. Cochran requested?
Mr. Cochran requested 1:30.
Is that acceptable to the court?
It is.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Let's have the jury. Let the record reflect that we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you again. All right, Mr. Robert Heidstra, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, good morning, Mr. Heidstra.
Good morning.
Mr. Heidstra, you were reminded, sir, that you are still under oath, and would you pull the microphone close to you, please? Thank you. Mr. Cochran.
Certainly, Your Honor.
Oops.
This is another one.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And good morning, Mr. Heidstra.
Good morning.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Heidstra, yesterday, at the end of the day, we had been discussing your observations on the evening of June 12th, 1994, the Sunday. And I think we had concluded talking about the meeting that you had had.
Excuse me just a second. David McNair, one of our jurors needs a pen. All right, proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe we had discussed the time that you came down for the meeting in this building with Ms. Clark and Mr. Hodgman and Detective Payne. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And after that particular conversation with those, the two deputy district attorneys and with the police officer, did you have occasion to talk to any other police officers after that conversation?
No, no.
All right. Did you have occasion to meet with a lawyer on the prosecution team this year, during 1995?
No, sir.
You didn't meet with Mr. Christopher Darden?
Later on, yes, later.
All right. And when was that?
It was on Memorial Day.
Memorial Day of this year?
Yeah,
That's of 1995?
exactly.
And when we talk about Mr. Darden, you mean the gentleman here in the middle, Mr.
That's
Darden?
it? Yes.
All right. And was Mr. Darden in the company of anyone else?
Two detectives.
Came out to see you?
Two detectives.
And do you presently recall the names of either of those detectives who were with Mr. Darden?
One name was Stevens.
Mike Stevens, kind of a large
Yeah,
gentleman?
yeah, right.
All right. Do you remember the name of any of the other gentlemen?
No.
If it was
no,
a gentleman?
No, no.
All right. How was this meeting arranged on Memorial Day or thereabouts involving Mr. Darden, Mr. Stevens, and this other individual?
They called me at 8 o'clock in the morning.
And where did they call you, sir?
At home.
At your residence there on
Yeah.
Dorothy?
Yes.
And you had a conversation with them?
Yeah, they told me they wanted to meet me at...
Yes, well, Mr. Darden, if you're going to make an objection, you'll need to stand so I can see that you're making an objection. Sustained.
Thank you. With regard
Also,
to
Mr. Heidstra, would you allow Mr. Cochran to finish asking the question before you start your
Sorry,
answer?
yes, okay.
All right.
Thank you. Now, the question was, you had a conversation, without telling us what it was, you had a conversation with somebody from the DA's office, is that right?
Yes.
And that was about 8 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
And after that conversation, did the three gentlemen that you've spoken about show up at where you live?
At 10 o'clock, yes.
All right. Was that the time you agreed upon?
Yes.
All right. And they came out to Dorothy, is that correct?
Right.
And so that we're clear, that was in the month of, toward the end of May of 1995, is that correct?
Right.
All right. And once they got to your particular residence, you had never met Mr. Darden before, had you?
No.
Did you have a conversation with these three individuals at that point?
Oh, yes. Yes.
All right. And did you invite them into your house, or did you go someplace?
No, I said my dogs have a small apartment, so we went outside
All right.
for a walk.
All right. And was it your idea to go for a walk?
Yeah, I said, let's go around the block.
All right. And did you walk around the block?
We did.
All right. And you accompanied by, you didn't take your dogs with you this time, did you?
One dog I took with me.
Which dog did you take?
The younger dog.
Okay. By the way, with the court's indulgence, with regard to those dogs, I don't want to have a dog fixation, but there's some merit here, Your Honor. With regard to those dogs, will you tell us how old are those two dogs?
We heard this yesterday.
I'm not sure of the one dog. I
We
didn't
heard
get the age.
that one was 14.
Not the other one, I don't think, though.
All right.
Bear with me.
Proceed.
Bear with me. The one dog, how old is the oldest dog?
He's about 14 now.
And how old is the youngest dog?
11 now, I guess.
So the
10,
youngest
11.
dog is 11?
Yeah, 10,
All right.
11.
And does the oldest dog suffer with some kind of an ailment?
Oh, yes, arthritis in the back legs.
Is what?
Arthritis.
Okay. And how does that affect his ability to walk when you go out with him? Becomes very relevant.
Oral.
How does,
He can walk very slowly, very slow, very slow.
does that affect the time it takes you to complete your walk?
Oh, sure.
All right. Now, so you took one of the dogs with you, I presume the younger one that morning?
Right.
Okay. And you had a conversation with these three gentlemen?
Yes.
As you walked, did you show them anything or you just talked?
No, we were just talking about. They asked me questions. And,
All right. And you responded to their questions?
yes,
And did Mr. Darden ask you some questions?
he did.
What did Mr. Darden ask you? I think I can look it up here. All right. What did Mr. Darden ask you?
Oh, what kind of work I did and if I was legal here in this little country.
He asked if you were legal?
Yeah,
You are a legal citizen, aren't you?
sure.
And what else did he ask you?
Sustained.
Well, how were you treated by Mr. Darden and these men who came out to see you?
Pretty cool. Pretty, not very.
Sustained. It's irrelevant.
Is it relevant here?
It's irrelevant.
Okay. The conversation, can you describe for us the tone of the conversation between these three men as they ask you questions, specifically Mr. Darden?
Not very friendly.
And did you try to respond to them as they talk to you?
Sure,
Did you try to be friendly and cooperative?
sure.
Did Mr. Darden's tone towards you ever become friendly at any time during the conversation?
Not really.
I'm going to sustain the objection to that particular question,
All right, I'll ask another
but
one.
we've established the tone.
Okay. Well, thank you. Did that tone remain the same throughout? The
Exactly.
unfriendly tone?
Exactly.
All right. How long were you with these three men on that date of Memorial Day of 1995?
About 25 minutes, something like that.
Now, yesterday, in your testimony, you indicated to us that you'd heard a gate clanging. You remember that?
Yes,
And at the time you heard this gate clanging, you couldn't see which gate that was, could you?
no.
All right. And although you described for us at first the dog that you believe was an Akita barking, were you ever able to see the Akita that night?
Never saw him. No.
All right. But you thought that you recognized that particular bark, having heard it before?
Oh, yes.
And was that the same thing as with the black dog?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
All right. Now, with regard to this case, did you have occasion to hear or see the opening statements in this particular case back in January of 1995?
Yes, I did.
And what did you see it on television or what did you do?
Yeah. Excuse me. I was home that day.
All right, you observed it on television?
Yes.
And did you hear statements regarding the times that certain things had happened back out there on Bundy on June 12, 1994?
Oh, yes.
And when you heard those things, how did that affect you?
Sustained.
Very surprised.
Just a moment,
Wait,
just a moment.
wait, wait. Mr.
Sorry.
Heidstra, when an objection is made and I sustain the objection, you're not to answer the question.
Okay.
Stricken.
When you heard the opening statements, did you at that point make any statements? You can answer that yes or no.
Sustained.
Did you at any time after the opening statements talk to anybody from the prosecution at all?
No.
All right. Did you talk to any, did you make any statements to anybody else at that time?
No.
All right. Now, in this conversation that you had with Mr. Darden and these two gentlemen, did they ever suggest anything to you at all?
Oh, well. No.
All right, and did you, did the subject of where you come from ever come up?
Yes.
Was anything said about that? And may I approach, Your Honor? May we approach this moment regarding this? May we approach?
Sustained as
reporter?
hearsay.
Yeah, may we approach with this?
No. Sustained as hearsay.
Well, I want to ask a question. And all right. Well, before I ask the question, I'd like to tell you about that question, I think.
With
All right.
reporter, please. All right, thank you, counsel. Mr. Cochran.
thank you very kindly, Your Honor. During this conversation that you had with these gentlemen, who did most of the talking from the prosecution side?
Mr. Darden.
All right. Did the other two men talk at all?
Very little.
It was mostly Mr. Darden and you
Yes,
responding?
yes, yes.
All right. Now, and I'd like to put one of the boards back up if I can. You have described for us that you were an auto detailer, is that correct?
All right.
And before June 12th of 1994, you had never personally met Mr. O.J. Simpson, had you?
Never, never.
And I think you indicated yesterday, however, that you had had occasion to work and detail cars throughout the Brentwood area, is that correct?
Right.
Had you ever had occasion to go over and represent or work for a client over on Rockingham?
Yes.
Did you do some work for some clients by the name of the Salingers?
Sure.
And do the Salingers live right next door to where Mr. O.J. Simpson lives?
Yes.
And I want you to just turn briefly, Mr. Corporal, and look at 1239 there, which is a defense exhibit number 1239. And do you see Mr. O.J. Simpson's home on that? And is that a fair and accurate portrayal of his residence as you saw it
Sure.
in times before June 1994?
Right.
And while you're standing there, would you point out and would you show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where your clients, the Salingers, live?
It's next door house.
All right, he's pointing to the house immediately to
Immediately to the south.
south of Mr. Simpson's house. Right, thank you very kindly. Now, Mr. Had you ever at any time ever even seen O.J. Simpson at any time when you were at the Salingers?
One time, I guess, just one time.
But did you ever talk to him?
Never, no.
All right, just saw him in passing?
No, you saw me in the yard of Mr. Salinger one time.
All right, that's the only time you ever saw him?
Yeah, yes.
All right. Now, let's take this down. On that particular night, on the night that we've been talking about, on June 12th, let's go back for just a moment. You described for us yesterday that after you heard these sounds that you described for us yesterday, you continued on through this alley that paralleled Bundy, and at some point you approached and you were trying to go down to Dorothy, is that correct?
Right.
And at some point you did walk and get to Dorothy, is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, and so you pointed to Dorothy on People's 26. All right. And at some point, did you ever see any vehicles in and around that area as you got to Dorothy Street that particular night?
Yes. I walked up a little, 2-3 houses up the street.
All right, so that we're clear, Your Honor, I think he's indicating that he had proceeded up Dorothy
Yeah.
in the direction of where your house is?
Right.
Okay, is that right?
Right.
Dedicated eastbound. on Dorothy.
Eastbound on Dorothy, as I understand, Your Honor. And at that point, did you see any vehicle at any point?
Well, I looked back to Bundy where the noise came from.
All right,
And there is a street light on the corner of Bundy and Dorothy.
yes.
And when I was looking there from the commotion, I was listening to there about 2 minutes.
All right, by what time would that be now that you're looking back?
Around 11:15.
Okay, about 10:45? All right,
Yeah, right.
quarter to 11?
Yeah.
All right. And you look back, and now, before that, let me ask you, had you seen any cars at all around that location?
No.
All right. And you look back, did you see any cars at this point, or any traffic out on Bundy, if you could see
Yeah,
Bundy?
2 cars were passing on Bundy, going south and north, I guess.
Okay, 2 cars were passing on Bundy,
Yeah.
going south, is that correct?
Yeah.
And south would be down toward what street? Toward Wilshire?
It was, yeah.
All right. And could you describe those 2 cars at all?
No, they went fast on Bundy. So I
All right.
couldn't see.
They were moving kind of quickly, and you
Yeah,
couldn't?
yeah, I don't remember that.
And so that we're clear, when you saw these 2 cars, sir, point again to People's 26 and show us generally where you were at the time you saw these cars.
About there, about here, about there.
All right. And the cars were going down Bundy, south on Bundy?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. And did you see any other car at any point?
Yeah, when I was looking there, I saw from the west side of Dorothy, that's the side of the Nicole's condo,
Yes.
came out of the darkness a white car
All right.
into the light, in the street light on the corner.
Which direction was that car going?
It came in from Dorothy, from this side, and it stopped here on the corner of Dorothy and Bundy.
All right. And did that car make a turn, or did it go up Dorothy, or what did it do?
No, it made a turn,
All right, in which direction did it go?
a right turn, and went south.
All right, are you sure that vehicle went south?
Sure.
And that would be toward Wilshire Boulevard?
To Worcester Way.
And what color was the car?
A very light color, white or something.
It was light or white?
Yeah, white or something.
All right, did you see that car very clearly?
Yeah, I could clearly see it there.
All right, how far were you away from the car?
Oh, I would say 50 yards at least.
50 yards?
Yeah,
About 150 feet?
yeah, yeah.
And could you see anybody, could you see whether there was 1, 2, 3 people in that car?
No, nothing.
All right, and why was that? Why couldn't you tell who was in
The
the car?
distance, I could never see it.
You were too far away?
Oh, yeah.
Could you describe anything about the person or persons in that car at all?
No.
All right. But is your testimony that car came up Dorothy and then proceeded right to go south on Bundy?
Yeah, I went south on Bundy.
Now, can you describe generally that car and what kind of a car it appeared to be, if you could?
Could it be a wagon, a car, jeep, light car?
A wagon or Jeep?
Yeah, something around that.
But you can't tell us what kind of wagon or Jeep that was?
No, not really, no, no.
And to you it appeared to be light in color?
Could be a Blazer or Jeep Cherokee, something like that.
All right. But you don't know what it was, is that right?
No, no,
Now, when you talked to the police back early in June of 1994, you told them about seeing this vehicle?
no. Yes,
All right. Did you ever tell the police that vehicle was heading north?
never, no.
You always told them it was heading south?
South.
So that we're clear, if you proceeded north on Bundy and made a left turn there and going up north on Bundy, would that be going toward Sunset?
Oh, sure.
All right. And south would be going toward Wilshire, is that correct?
Right.
And the Rockingham residence that I showed you earlier, that Rockingham residence is which way? Toward north?
North of Sunset.
So you're sure that all these 3 cars that you saw were going right or south on Bundy, is that
Yeah,
correct?
left and south.
Do you recall seeing, and you may resume your seat now,
Yeah?
do you recall seeing any other cars that you haven't
No.
told us about?
No.
Just the 3 you've now talked
Excuse me,
about?
Mr. Cochran? I've asked Mr. Heidstra now twice to allow you to finish asking your questions. You're going to have to be a little more precise in how you ask your questions. Mr. Heidstra, please let Mr. Cochran finish asking you the question before you start to answer. Please. All right?
Certainly, Your Honor.
Sorry.
Certainly. Do you recall seeing any other cars that night when you were in the location of Dorothy approaching your house?
No.
All right, so that all you saw that night were the 3 cars you've now told us about.
Right.
All right. After you saw these 3 cars that were heading south on Bundy, where did you next go? Where did you continue at that point?
I continue to go back home.
All right, and then you continued on to your house that you described for us yesterday,
Yes.
and you got back home right at about 11 o'clock. Well, strike that. I'll
Sustained.
restate it again. And what time did you get back home?
Well, I stood in front of where I live
Yes.
for a couple of minutes, listened to the commotion of the dogs. They were still barking.
All right.
And all of a sudden they went slower and slower barking, and I went inside.
All right, and what time was that?
Well, it was about 11 because I turned the TV on the local channels, and the news was just starting, was just announcing the news, the local channel.
All right, now, you've come here today and yesterday pursuant to subpoena from the defense,
Yes.
and you don't prefer one side of this lawsuit over the other, do you?
No, not at all.
Sustained.
Are you here to favor either side in this case at all?
Not at all.
Why are you here?
To tell the truth, what I saw and what I heard.
Have you told us the truth here?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for coming.
Mr. Darden?
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Heidstra.
Good morning, Mr. Darden.
This is the second time we said good morning to each other, is that correct?
They did, yes, exactly.
Said-
We did just before.
When we came into court this morning, we greeted
Right.
each other?
Yes.
Okay. Did I understand you to testify, Mr. Heidstra, that when you arrived at the end of the alley at Dorothy, that you saw a vehicle at the corner of Dorothy and Bundy?
When I walked up the street, a few houses, and then I looked back toward Bundy, and then I saw one of the cars coming down from the west side of Dorothy.
Okay. Now, Nicole Simpson's condo is on the west side of Bundy, is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay. And Dorothy is just a little bit south of Nicole Brown's condo?
exactly.
Okay. And so the vehicle that you saw then was going west toward Bundy, right?
Yeah, it came to Bundy.
Okay. The vehicle stopped at Bundy?
Yes.
Okay. And this vehicle, Mr. Heidstra, it was white, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm white, yeah, very light, very, I
It
would
was
say
a
white.
sport.
I would say white.
Okay. It was a sport utility vehicle, wasn't it?
A sport?
Yeah.
No, it was like a Jeep or a wagon car.
Okay. A four-wheel drive sort of vehicle?
Probably, yes.
It wasn't a car, was it?
It was a car, yes.
Well, was it a car in the sense that it was like a van or a truck?
No, it was like a wagon car, Jeep-like car.
Okay, well, when you talked to the police initially, you told them that you thought that the vehicle might be a Blazer. Is that correct?
Yeah, they asked me if it was a Blazer. It looks like a Blazer car.
Okay. And it did look like a Blazer.
Yeah, that size of car was it.
I'm sorry?
That kind of size, the size of the car was like a Blazer.
Ford Blazer?
Yeah.
Sustained. It's just
Okay.
it's leading.
I'm sorry. A Chevy
Excuse
Blazer?
me.
I don't
You
know,
need to
but
stand. The objection. Thank you. Sustained.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Rephrase the question.
Okay, and a Blazer is made by Chevrolet?
yes, I guess so.
And you also said that it resembled a Ford. Is that correct?
Don't recall that.
Well, did you tell the police that the vehicle resembled a Ford Bronco?
Never.
Overruled.
I said it looks like a wagon, I told them. A wagon, a Jeep-like car.
Didn't you tell the police that the vehicle looked like a Ford Bronco?
No. No, sir.
Overruled.
No, sir.
Were you interviewed by the police, Mr. Heidstra?
Yes.
And before we get to that, Mr. Heidstra, you've talked to other people about the vehicle that you saw at Bundy and Dorothy that night. Is that correct?
Yes?
You talked to a reporter from Channel 2, didn't you?
Yes.
And didn't you tell that reporter from Channel 2 that the vehicle looks like a Ford Bronco?
I don't recall that. I said it must be a van, a Jeep, or a wagon.
Did you tell the reporter that the vehicle looked like a Ford Bronco?
Don't recall that.
Are you saying that you did not, or are you saying you just don't
I don't
remember if you
recall. I
did?
don't recall, really. I don't recall.
Did you see yourself on the news this past Monday night, Mr. Heidstra?
Just a little shot, yeah, I saw.
Okay. And did you see yourself on the news discussing whether or not the vehicle looked like a Ford Bronco?
No, I just saw just a shot of it when I came home.
And you know someone named Patricia, don't you?
Yeah.
And Patricia works at a veterinarian's office?
Right.
And she is also French, is that correct?
Yeah, she's French.
And you speak French?
I do.
And she speaks French?
Yes.
And you've talked to Patricia
Yes, we talk to each other.
about your observations that night, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you tell Patricia that the vehicle resembled a Ford Bronco?
I told that it was like a wagon car, big, like a Jeep.
Did you tell Patricia that the vehicle looked like a Ford Bronco?
Overruled.
Like a Blazer car. It might have said maybe a Bronco, maybe I don't recall that.
In your opinion, does a Chevy Blazer and a Ford Bronco resemble each other?
They resemble each other, I would say so, yes.
And you do detail cars, is that right?
Right.
And do you detail a Mercedes-Benz for a man named Mr. Field?
Yeah.
You've talked to Mr. Field about your observations, is that correct?
Yes, we did.
And didn't you tell Mr. Field that the vehicle you saw was a Ford Bronco?
Could have been a Blazer or Ford Bronco. They resemble.
Mr. Heidstra,
Yeah.
please, sir. Did you tell Mr. Field that the vehicle you saw looked like a Ford Bronco?
I might have said that, but I've said like it was a Blazer. Could be a Blazer too.
Mr.
I
Heidstra,
don't know exactly.
did you tell Mr. Field that the vehicle appeared to be a Ford Bronco?
I might have said that probably, but I don't recall that. I said,
You say you might have said that, Mr. Heidstra?
I might have said that he understood that I said that it was a Bronco, but I could have said that that's like a Blazer or Jeep car,
Did
a
you-
light color car.
Did you use the word Bronco during your conversation with Mr. Field when you described the vehicle you saw?
I don't know. It might be a long time ago. I don't recall that. Don't recall that at all.
You have given us a detailed account of your walk that night. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And have you attempted to be detailed in your account of what you saw and heard that night?
Can you repeat it again, please?
Have you attempted to provide us with a detailed
Exactly,
account?
yes.
And you've tried to be as accurate as you could possibly be. Is that correct?
I tried to.
Now, the vehicle that you saw make that right turn from Dorothy onto Bundy, that vehicle had tinted windows, didn't it?
Yeah, it looks like tinted windows, yes.
And it had a chrome bumper on the back?
I couldn't see the back, and it's too big distance.
Okay. Did you ever tell anyone that it had a chrome bumper on the back, Mr.
I've never
Heidstra?
never said that to anybody. Not that I remember.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I never saw that. I could never see that from the distance.
Okay. So the vehicle was white, and it had tinted windows.
Overruled.
Okay.
Rephrase your question, Counsel.
And this vehicle that you saw, when it made that right turn onto Bundy, did you hear the tire screech?
No, it accelerated fast, but I didn't hear the tires. No,
It accelerated fast?
pretty fast, yeah.
And you noticed that, didn't you?
I did notice that, yes, sure.
And did you consider that unusual at the time?
Overruled.
No, I thought the person was in a hurry, maybe, or something like that.
But did you wonder if that person was in a hurry?
Yeah, it looks like that he was in a hurry.
Did you wonder why that person was in a hurry?
Why?
Yes.
No. I don't know. I don't know the driver. I don't know.
Okay. So when this white vehicle that looked like a Bronco with tinted windows,
Sustained. Sustained. Rephrase the question.
did the vehicle look like a Bronco?
I said it again, like a Blazer. It could have been a Bronco, maybe. I don't know.
Overruled. Excuse me. Mr. Heidstra, when you hear an objection, don't answer the question. Let the attorney finish asking the question before you start your answer. Pull the microphone close to you, please. Thank you. All right, rephrase the question.
Mr. Heidstra. You testified a little while ago that you are not here to favor either side in this case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you have some financial interest in the outcome of this case, Mr. Heidstra?
Not at all. Not at all.
You planning on making some money by testifying in this case, Mr. Heidstra?
Not at all.
Didn't you tell Patricia Barrett, is that how you pronounce your last name, Barrett?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. Didn't you tell Patricia Barrett that when this case is finished, you're going to make a lot of money?
I didn't say that.
Didn't you tell her that?
A lot of money in it. So
And did
maybe
you-
something might come out of it, but I never said a lot of money on that thing.
So you think you might make some money as a result of testifying in this case?
Maybe, but I don't know.
And You could use a few dollars, right?
Yes?
Okay. The apartment that you live in is located on Dorothy?
Right.
Okay. And where in the building is your apartment located?
In the front.
Okay. Now, you mentioned something yesterday about a sub-garage.
It is sub-garage, yeah.
Okay. Is your apartment located in the sub-garage?
Right.
And your apartment is a one-room apartment, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you live in that apartment with your 2 dogs,
Yeah.
your 2 elderly dogs.
Yeah.
You live there alone
Alone, yes.
with the 2 dogs?
Right.
And you lived there for 17 years alone with those 2 dogs?
Yeah.
And the only kind of work you do is washing cars and detailing cars, is that correct?
Yes.
Hold. Never mind.
I mean, and not to demean you, but that is just how you make your living.
Yes.
You have dreams of one day having a lot of money, don't you?
Sustained.
Well, you have a desire,
Everybody, I guess, would have dreamed to have money.
okay? And you have a desire to one day have enough money to purchase a Rolls Royce, don't you?
No. I don't like Rolls Royces.
Now, Mr. Field is a prominent businessman, is he not?
I guess so, yeah.
Didn't you tell Mr. Field that as a result of this case that you expected to make enough money to purchase a Rolls Royce?
Never said that. I'm not interested in Rolls Royces in the first place. Maybe another car, maybe. That could be it.
Well, the car that you have now is a 63 Corvette,
No, 72 Corvette.
72 Corvette, in poor condition, right?
Pardon?
And it's in poor condition, is that right?
Important?
Poor condition.
Yeah, it's in poor condition. I'm sorry.
So you could use a new car.
Yeah, I wish I had it.
Now, Patricia Barrett, she works at the veterinarian's clinic, is that right?
Right?
And you come in from time to time with your dogs?
Yes.
Okay. And do you also wash the cars there for some of the people?
For the doctor, yes.
Okay. So you wash cars in exchange for veterinarian services?
No. They pay me with a check always.
Okay. Okay. And so while you're there on occasion, you talk to Patricia Barrett, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you go there every week?
Every other week.
Okay. And you and she talk just about every other week, is that correct?
Not much. She's in the front office and I'm in the back doing the car.
But you always talk with her about the case, don't you?
Sometimes when it comes up, not all the time.
And when you speak to Ms. Barrett about the case, you always speak to her in French.
Well, she starts speaking French always to me, so I answer in French with her.
You testified that you do some work for the Salingers, is that right?
All right.
And they live next door to O.J. Simpson?
Right.
Okay. And the Salingers have a maid, is that correct? Or they had a maid?
They had it made, yeah.
And that maid's name was Rosa Lopez, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And Rosa Lopez is someone who is on the defense witness list, isn't she?
Yes.
Okay. And you have spoken to Rosa Lopez.
Oh, yes. A long time ago.
Sure. You spoke to her about the case, is that correct?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. And in response to Mr. Cochran's questions, you told us that you met me on Memorial Day.
I met you on Memorial Day, yes.
Okay. And you talked to Detective Payne, was it, on other occasions?
Well, that's a long time ago I talked to him.
Okay. But I wasn't the first prosecutor to come out to your house and speak to you, was I?
No, it was Mr. Payne when the murders happened that he came to my door.
Okay. Have you ever met Mr. Hodgman out there?
Yes, I met him once.
Okay. And you understand that Mr. Hodgman is with the DA's office?
Yes.
And did you go on a walk with Mr. Hodgman?
No, never.
So both Mr. Hodgman and myself have been out to your house, is that right?
Well, Mr. Hodgman, I met him, he passed by with Mr. Payne in a car,
Okay.
and I was walking my dogs.
Okay. And Mr. Stevens, he's an investigator for my office.
Yeah,
He's been out to your house a couple of times.
never.
Okay. He was out there with me, is that correct?
That's the first time.
So all in all, then, you've had, what, 4 visits then from police officers or prosecutors in this case?
Yeah, Mr. Payne, you know, he must have done 3 times or something, 3 times.
But you've also had visits from other lawyers, haven't you?
From whom?
You've been visited by other lawyers in this case, is that correct?
Lawyers?
Yes.
I don't recall, no.
Well, you know F. Lee Bailey?
Oh, yes. I met him, sorry.
You understand that he's a lawyer?
Yes.
Have you met him at your house?
Not in my house,
But you met him somewhere else, is that correct?
right?
Where did you meet him?
I met him down the street on Bundy and Dorothy. He was there with the investigator.
And you spoke to Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, we introduced him to Mr. Bailey.
Okay. But you spoken to Mr. Bailey on a number of occasions, is that correct?
Never, no. Only one time.
Only one time?
One time.
Okay. Who was the investigator that was with Mr. Bailey when you spoke to him?
Mr. McKinnon.
How many times have you spoken to Mr. McKenna?
Oh, about 4 or 5 times at least.
Okay. And you and Mr. McKenna had a little experiment going out there at Bundy, didn't you?
The time I met Mr. Bailey?
How about that time? Did you and Mr. McKenna run a little experiment out there?
No. He came to my door and introduced me to Mr. Bailey.
Oh, Mr.
Down
Bailey
the street. Mr. McKinnon.
Mr. McKenna came to your door,
Yeah.
and he asked you to walk down to the end of the block and meet
Right,
Mr.
right,
Bailey.
right.
You testified yesterday that you heard a gate slam. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you heard that gate slam, well, you say you heard that gate slam. You heard a gate slam.
Right.
And when you heard that gate slam, could you just show us where you were exactly when you heard that gate slam?
Here.
Okay. Now, could you just keep the pointer there and come around to the other side?
Sorry.
Okay. Show us again, please. Okay. So you're in the alley, is that correct?
Right.
In the middle of the alley?
Yeah, just here on the side there, just by the concrete here.
I'm sorry, nobody's really hearing.
Could you step back up and repeat your answer? My question was, were you in the middle of the alley?
No, just on the side there of the alley, not in the middle. I don't recall that exactly. I was standing there.
All right, Mr. Darden, you're referring to Defense Exhibit.
Yes, Your Honor. Defense Exhibit 1239.
Thank you.
And Mr. Heidstra, this alley is east of Bundy, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you're in the alley, right?
Right.
Between you and the alley is strike that. Between you and Bundy, there's a garage. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a garage from the lady here.
And that garage was in front of you when you heard the gate slam?
Right.
And beyond the house, the garage, or just beyond the garage, and west, going west toward Bundy, there's a house. Is that correct?
Yeah, the other garage is on the other, there's a house there.
Okay, so there was a garage and a house between
Right.
you and that gate.
Exactly.
And then beyond the house, there's the sidewalk. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's on higher level ground than Nicole's property. So you can hear the sound even better there.
Okay. So then there's a garage, a house, and a
Right.
sidewalk between you and that gate at 875 South Bundy.
Right.
And then there's a street, isn't there?
Yeah, there's Bundy, yes.
Okay. And that's a fairly wide street, is it?
Yeah, two lanes, it's a pretty wide street here.
Okay. And then on the opposite side of Bundy, which would be the west side of Bundy,
Right.
there's also grass and a sidewalk.
Yeah, but it's not very big sidewalk, it's very small.
And a walkway that leads up to the front of 875 South Bundy, correct?
Yeah, that comes out there.
And yet it's your testimony that the gate that you heard slammed that night was the gate at 875 South Bundy, Mr. Heidstra?
Sure, because I was just opposite Nicole's condo. And the ground I told you is a higher level. You can hear the sound even better.
Could you hear, strike that, could you see the gate at 875 South Bundy?
No, the garage and everything, I could never see it.
There was no way for you to see the gate at 875 South Bundy, was it?
Or will? It's argumentative, though, the way it's phrased.
Okay. Would you agree that it was impossible for you to see the gate from that location?
I could never see the gate now.
Well, how is it then that you formed the opinion that the gate that you heard slam was the gate at 875 South Bundy?
Well, because I passed by with my dogs, and Darkita has been always behind that gate, and I said, boy, that's the gate from Darkita. I was just opposite it.
That's not what you told the police, is it?
Oh, yes, I told them I heard the gate slamming.
You told the police you heard the gate slam.
Yeah, and Mr. Payne said, boy, that must have been Nicole's condo.
And what reason did you give them for forming the opinion that it must have been Nicole Brown's condo?
Because of that commotion with Akita, and I knew he lived there.
Isn't it true that you told the police, and you talked to the police on June 21 of 1994, is that correct?
Yeah, it must be about that date.
Okay. Isn't it true that you told the police that in your opinion, the sound of the slamming gate came from Nicole Brown's residence because that is the only one in the area with a large metal security gate?
Well, there is another gate from the neighbors, I guess, have a gate there, but it sounded for me, because of that Akita, I knew, I said, that must be the gate.
There are several gates
Yeah,
located on the west side of Bundy, is that correct?
yeah, there is more gates there, yeah.
Several metal gates
Metal gates, yeah.
up and down that street, correct?
Yeah, there's next door, the big condo has one big one, two or something like that, 2, 3 of them.
And there are gates in front of 875 and the adjoining condos, is that
The
correct?
joint, yeah, there's, yeah.
And there are gates behind both of those condos, correct?
You mean on the other side and the other side?
Yes.
Yeah, there must be gates there. There are gates too, yeah.
Would you agree that there are approximately 21 gates,
And
metal gates, on the buildings located on the west side of Bundy between Gorham and Dorothy?
I never counted them.
How many would you say there are?
I just noticed the front gates and on Bundy, that's it.
Now, you understand, Mr. Heidstra, we'll strike that. Was it your understanding that the only way you can make money after this case would be if you came here to testify?
No, I've never thought about that. I just come here to tell the truth from the both sides.
Okay, but you do admit that you told other people that you hoped to make some money off this case when it was over.
Well, but I'm saying, jokingly we talked about it, like everybody would do. You
But
joke about it, I was joking.
But you did say that, didn't you?
I said that, yes, but not a lot of money. I said some money maybe.
Now, one moment, Your Honor. Okay, let me get back. Mr. Heidstra, it's your testimony that you usually walk your dog at 10 o'clock, is that correct?
That's my routine, yes.
But on this particular night, you say you were running a little late.
Yeah, I was reading the paper and I didn't look on the time.
Okay. And so you got up and you left the house.
Yeah, my dog gave me the signal and I looked at my watch and it was 10:15.
You looked at your watch?
Yes.
And your watch said 10:15?
Oh, sure, sure. I knew it because I was late. I said, go, you're all right, we have to go. It's 10:15.
And when you spoke to the police on June 21, 1994, did you tell them that you looked at your watch before leaving?
Sure.
Or will?
Okay. All right, so it was 10:15 when you walked outside.
Absolutely.
And you took one of the dogs.
2,
You took both dogs.
both of them.
And were those dogs on leashes?
One, the older one, I take on my leash. He doesn't walk too good, so they...
Isn't it true that you never walk your dogs on a leash?
One and he's never on the leash, but the other one is always on the leash. Because he won't come with me, simple as that.
So you do always walk one of the dogs on a
The
leash?
older one, because he's too slow, I have to pull him with me.
Okay. Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, about this routine, this 10 o'clock routine that you have in terms of walking the dog, isn't it true that you walk those dogs at any given time during the night? Is that correct?
No, sir. No, sir.
Isn't it true that you're always outside walking around with one of those dogs?
When I'm home and I don't work, then I might use other times. But when I work, I come at 6 o'clock and I walk them immediately out.
You walk the dogs at least 4 times a night, don't you?
No, sir. I walk them at 6 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock I walk the younger dog because he needs more exercise. And then at 10 o'clock, then I walk the 2 around the block, a short walk around the block.
Don't you walk the dogs at midnight sometimes
No,
on occasion?
never. Midnight, no, I go to sleep.
So no one could possibly see you then out walking a dog at midnight, is that correct?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
At any event, you say you left at 10:15,
Sure.
and it was your intention at that time to walk around the block, is that correct?
Right?
That's the route you usually walk.
Right.
And so as you left your apartment, you went east on Dorothy,
Yes.
and you went down to the corner.
Right.
By the way, let's strike that. Sometimes you don't actually walk the dog, correct? Sometimes you just let the dogs run around in front of the building, don't you?
The younger one, he stays in front of the building sometimes. He's very disciplined.
And you do that often, don't you?
When I'm home, you let them out. The door's always open for me.
I mean, you let the dogs run around in lieu of taking them for a walk.
Instead of a walk?
Yes.
No.
Okay. All your neighbors complain about you letting those dogs run around in front of the apartment, don't they?
No, he is just in front of my apartment. I never had a complaint from anybody. Never.
Okay. So you leave your building and you walk over to what street did you walk over to?
That night,
Yes.
I went to Westgate.
Okay, you went to Westgate and you made a left and you walked up Westgate, right?
I went north on Westgate.
Okay. And when you got to the corner, what did you do?
On Gorham, I went west on Gorham.
Okay, so you made a left at Gorham and
Right.
you went west.
I went down the block of Gorham.
Okay, and you walked over to Bundy, correct?
All right?
And it was as you approached Bundy that you heard a dog barking.
No, it was when I reached the corner of Bundy and Gorham, what comes together. From nowhere, hell broke loose with Akita. From nowhere, he started to bark.
That was the first time that you heard the dog barking.
Oh, yes, I was very surprised. No, it was so quiet at night as can be around there.
You hadn't heard the dog barking prior to that.
Sometime before, when I walked with my dogs across the street on Bundy, he was barking behind that gate.
Okay, but let's talk about that night, June 13th.
Oh, that night, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, you hadn't heard the dog barking prior to your arrival at the corner.
No,
Is that correct?
absolutely.
Okay. Now, was the barking loud?
Oh, yes, he got panicking or something, or confused.
Now, prior to that, we'll strike that. Was the dog barking at 10:10?
I was still in my apartment. I never heard a dog barking that time.
Okay. And at 10:15, you were approximately a block away from 875 Bundy. Is that correct?
No, 10:15, I left my apartment. 10:15, I was just in front of my apartment.
Okay. So you were about a block away.
A block away, yeah. Sure.
Okay. Now, you don't know whether or not that dog's bark had been softer prior to 10:30.
No, I never.
Oral.
Correct?
I never heard of. No. Never heard a dog barking.
Okay. Have you heard that saying, you know, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make noise?
Oral.
A poor attempt at poetry, if that's what it is. But have you ever heard that saying?
No.
Well, had the dog's bark been softer prior to 10:30,
All right.
you wouldn't have heard it, correct?
Sustained.
No, I never heard.
Wait. Proceed.
You don't know if the dog had been barking prior to your leaving your house, correct?
No, not at all. I didn't hear nothing.
All you can tell us is when you first heard the dog bark. Is that correct?
Exactly.
You don't know where the dog was at 10:15, do you?
No.
10:15. You don't know whether or not the dog was in front of 875 South Bundy at 10:15?
Not at all. No.
You don't know if the dog was upstairs in the condo with Sydney and Justin at 10:15?
No.
That's correct. You don't know if the dog was at the rear gate at 875 South Bundy at 10:15. Is that
No,
correct?
because I just left my apartment. I don't know, no.
Okay. When dogs are in distress, do they make noises other than just barking?
I guess it's wailing maybe or something. You know.
Do they make a noise that sort of sounds like a cry?
Could be, yeah, sure.
It sounds a bit like a human cry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You don't know whether or not that Akita was standing over Nicole's body crying at 10:15, do you?
Not checked upon that question.
It's this day.
And you can't testify to what other people heard. You can only testify to what you heard. Is that correct?
Oral.
No, that was the only one I've heard that.
I'm sorry?
I was there. I was the only one who heard that. The dog.
Well, my question to you is this. You can't testify to what other people may have heard. You can
Oh
only
no,
testify.
sorry, no.
Now, you didn't see anyone walking on Gorham and Bundy, did you?
Nobody was very quiet there.
You didn't see a woman in white pants walking at Gorham and Bundy?
No, I didn't see anybody.
Did you see a Nissan make a U-turn?
Where on Bundy?
Yes.
No,
How
there was
about
no
on
traffic at all. There was no traffic at all.
No traffic at all?
When I came down from Gorham, no, nothing.
Okay. No vehicle traffic?
Not that I recall, no.
No pedestrian traffic?
Not at all.
Okay. You didn't see two women standing outside talking about how eerie the night was
On Gorham, you said? Or on Bundy?
on Bundy?
No, because I just arrived on Bundy. I didn't go on Bundy.
How about on Gorham?
No, nobody was there. I didn't see anybody.
I take it that your dogs bark on occasion.
Yeah, sometimes somebody's on the door.
Okay. And has it been your experience that dogs bark and then stop and then bark again?
Oral.
They bark and they stop sometimes, sure.
And then they continue to bark, is that correct?
Yeah, this was an unusual barking.
And the barking that you heard, it sounded as if the dog was in distress, didn't it?
He was surprised, a surprised dog, confused, I would say, that's something like that.
Now, did you ever tell Mr. Bailey that you hope to make money as a result of testifying in this case?
No,
Did you tell Mr. McKenna that?
no.
Now, you told us that you reached Bundy, you heard the Akita,
Yeah.
you turned around, and you proceeded down the alley. Is that correct?
Yeah, I decided to go in the alley.
And as you walked south down that alley, you say you heard voices.
Sure.
Now, the first voice that you heard, how did you describe that voice yesterday?
It was, hey, 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 3 times.
Okay. And did you say that that voice sounded like the voice of a young man?
It was a clear voice, yes, it was like a clear voice.
Okay. Did the voice sound like the voice of a young man?
Don't know how young that could be.
Oral.
Can I answer?
No,
Yes.
the answer, he's given an answer.
Okay. I didn't hear it. I'm sorry. Shall I? Didn't you tell us yesterday that the voice was a youthful voice?
Yeah, it sounds like a young voice.
Okay. And when you heard that voice, you thought that that was the voice of a young white male, didn't you?
Overruled. Overruled. Counsel overruled. Sit down. The way the question was phrased, if there's a question or a statement that was made that says that, that's an appropriate question, counsel. Proceed.
The voice sounded like the voice of a white male.
How could I say that's a white male? I don't know the voice. Could be anybody there.
Did you ever tell Mr. Stevens, my investigator, that it sounded like a white man?
No,
Never said that?
I don't not recall that at all. I said it was a clear voice, but never what kind of white or brown or yellow.
And then there was that second voice, correct?
Right.
And that second voice, that voice sounded deeper than the first voice, didn't it?
A little bit, but I couldn't hardly hear it. With the dogs, the commotion of the two dogs there, it was very short.
Did you ever tell anyone that the second voice was a deep voice?
It was deep. It was deeper than the other ones. And that hey, hey, hey.
Okay, so the second voice then was deeper than the first one.
Yeah, a little deeper. Couldn't hardly hear it. It was just very short.
And the second voice that you heard, did it sound to you as if the person with the second voice was older than the person with the first voice?
Sustained. Foundation.
Can you tell us whether or not the second voice sounded more mature than the first voice?
Sustained.
I couldn't say
Foundation.
that.
Hold on.
The second voice that you heard sounded like the voice of a black man, is that correct?
Sustained. Sustained.
Of course not. I don't.
Wait! Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, would you step into the jury, please? All right, Mr. Heidstra, you can step down. Mr. Darden, where are you going with this?
Your Honor, well, can we have Mr. Heidstra step out, please?
Mr. Heidstra, I want you to wait outside.
Thank you for the opportunity to explain my position, Your Honor. Your Honor, in the discovery we just provided the defense, and in a statement Patricia Barrett gave to Detective Tom Lang, she told Detective Lang that Heidstra told her that he heard what sounded to him to be a young man holler, hey, hey, hey. Heidstra had then stated that he heard the very angry screaming of an older man who sounded black. And that is a good faith basis upon which I am asking these questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Cochran?
First of all, we've never seen that statement, and the reason I stood before I resent that statement. You can't tell by somebody's voice whether they sounded black, and I don't know who made that statement, whether Barrett or Lang or whoever said it, but I resent it because that's a racist statement. You can't tell by listening to someone whether they're black or white or whatever. I don't think you can tell whether somebody's young. You can tell if it's a child or not. But I resent that entire area, and I think it's entirely inappropriate. And we've never seen any statement to that regard. He walked over and handed Mr. Douglas a purported report from Ms. Barrett. But this statement about whether somebody sounds black or white is racist, and I resent it, and that's why I stood and objected. And I think it's totally improper. In America, at this time, in 1995, we have to hear this and endure this.
I didn't make the statement, Your Honor.
Well,
The
the
witness-
court, may I say one thing, Your Honor? The court, when I had a question about how Mr. Darden conducted himself on that morning, I approached the bench before I asked in front of the jury, because I think dignity and integrity require that. But to ask that question in front of the jury, I think is totally, totally improper. And that's, we had said back in chambers when this case started, to try it appropriately when there was a question, a questionable area, we had promised you that we would approach the bench on those things. Did we not do that?
We did.
And we've kept that word. And they didn't do that, Your Honor. They violated it again. And so I resent that.
I've always considered the question of race in this case to be a questionable issue, Your Honor. However, this is the witness's statement, and if the statement is racist, then he is the racist, not me. Okay?
I didn't say
And
he was
clearly,
Wait,
I
wait.
mean, but that's what you're suggesting, and that's what, has created a lot of problems for my family and myself. Statements that you make about me and race, Mr. Cochran.
Well, you
And I
stop
would
doing
indicate to
these
the
things.
court.
Wait,
Sorry.
wait. I'm going to take a recess right now because I'm so mad at both of you guys. I'm about to hold both of you in contempt. We'll take 15. If I see this conduct again from either of you two,
I apologize.
It'll take more than that. Happens, there will be severe sanctions. The issue before the court is whether or not prosecution can attempt to impeach Mr. Heidstra. Mr. Heidstra, would you step outside, please? Issue before the court is whether or not the prosecution can attempt to impeach Mr. Heidstra's testimony with statements alleged to have been made to other persons that are inconsistent with his statement to the jury here in court. Under 1235 of the Evidence Code, there's required compliance with Evidence Code Section 770 that the person be confronted with and challenged or not released, one or the other. And that appears to be the process that I've seen here. To wave the racism flag at this point, I think, is not germane to the topic. The issue is, was this statement made? Content of the statement, however repugnant, depending on what your interpretation of the statement may be, is not particularly relevant. I've allowed the same type of impeachment for Detective Furman. All right, let's have Mr. Heidstra. All right, Mr. Heidstra, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, good morning again, Mr. Heidstra.
Good morning, Judge.
I want you to understand, I'm not mad at you, but I have several things on my mind.
Sure.
Would you please let the attorneys finish asking the question before you start to answer? Take a breath.
Abstain is no talking. Shut up.
Correct. All right. Let's have the jurors, please.
Could I have some water?
Coach, briefly, off the record? Okay,
Finish the morning.
okay. I just-
Foundation, by placing the red statement on the Alamo.
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Please be seated. All right, let the record reflect that we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Ladies and gentlemen, from time to time, things occur that make it necessary for me to immediately discuss things with the attorneys. I want you to understand that you should ignore any such actions taken by the court. You should not interpret that as an indication that the court has an opinion as to the conduct of the attorneys or as to any of the witnesses who are testifying. Ignore any actions that the court takes. You are to form your own opinions based upon the evidence and the law as is presented to you here in court. Mr. Darden, you may continue with your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I have People's next in order? And I have here a one-page statement, may be marked People's 500.
People's 500.
Mr. Heidstra, let me show you a statement, single-page document, which has been marked People's 500. Okay. And for the record, Your Honor, I have blackened out the address and phone number of the
Thank you.
person indicated in the statement. Please.
Mr. Darden.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Heidstra, you've already testified that you know Patricia Barrett, correct?
Oh, correct.
And you have discussed with her in the past your observations and perceptions the night of June 12, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Heidstra, did you tell, let's strike that. You've told us that you left your house at 10:15.
Right.
Did you tell Ms. Barrett that you left your house a little after 10?
No. 10:15.
You never told Ms. Barrett that you left your house a little after 10?
No, never.
And you've told us that, we'll strike that. Did you tell Ms. Barrett that the first voice that you heard, the voice that yelled, hey, 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 did you tell Ms. Barrett that that voice seemed to be the voice of a young man?
We are clear young men. It sounds like a young adult.
And in response to hey, hey, her, you heard another voice, is that correct?
Very short, yes.
Okay. And that second voice, was that voice loud?
Not loud, not very loud. No.
But you could hear it?
Yeah, over the dogs, the commotion of the dog.
Okay. And could you determine whether or not the second voice that you heard sounded angry?
Couldn't say that for sure. It was like an argument or something like that.
Well, didn't you tell Ms. Barrett that the second voice that you heard sounded very angry?
Not very angry. I said it was an argument, like an argument. Fast talking.
Now, like everyone, I'm sure you've heard a number of different people speak. Is that correct?
Yes.
Older people, correct?
Sure.
Young people,
Children,
Caucasian people.
black people, Chinese, you name it.
The second voice that you heard, could you tell whether or not that second voice sounded like the voice of an older man?
Maybe, what do you mean about older men? Maybe older than the other person? Maybe, yes, could be.
Okay. Well, was it your opinion that the voice of the second man belonged to a man older than the voice of the first man?
Could be an older man, yes.
Okay. And you told Ms. Barrett that the second voice was the voice of an older man, didn't you?
Yeah, it's gonna be,
You did tell her that.
Could.
Okay. And were you able to determine the ethnicity of the person who you say was the second voice?
Oral.
No, no, no.
Isn't it true that you told Patricia Barrett that the second voice which would be the older man, sounded black?
Never said that, no. Never. Never said that ever. I couldn't hear that with the noise.
I think we need to approach for a moment, Your Honor.
All right, with court order. Thank you, counsel. Proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. And you told us earlier, Mr. Heidstra, that you had on occasion done some work for the Salingers, correct?
Oh, yes, regular.
And on the exhibit up here, which is Defense 1239, I believe, the Salinger residence is to the right of the photograph.
Exactly.
And directly next door to the defendant's home on Rockingham. Is that correct?
Right.
And how long have you been working for the Salingers?
Oh, 6 years at least.
And how many times a week would you go up to the Salingers' home to wash or detail their cars?
Every other week something.
Okay. And so you've been going up there every other week for 5 years?
Oh, yeah.
Now, had you ever met the defendant, Mr. Simpson? That is prior to June 12, 1994?
You mean Rosa Lopez?
No. The defendant, Mr. Simpson.
Oh, sorry.
Had you ever met him? That is prior to June 12, 1994?
No, I saw him once in the yard, one time in the yard, but never talked to her.
Okay. You'd be working out in the yard sometimes, is that right?
I work in the garage there next to Mr. Simpson's house.
Okay. The garage is directly next to Mr.
Yeah,
Simpson's
just next
house?
to Mr. Yeah.
Now, you have to let me finish talking, otherwise she won't get us both down. And even though you only saw Mr. Simpson once, were there other occasions where you heard his voice?
Never, no.
You never heard Mr. Simpson's voice prior to June 12, 1994?
Never.
But you watch a lot of television, don't you?
Some sports.
You
news.
watch the news?
Yeah.
And have you watched sports over the years, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are your favorite sports?
Soccer, what we call football in Europe.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, yeah, ice hockey, basketball.
American football?
Boring.
Wait till you see baseball.
You're right.
Over the years, have you watched Hertz commercials?
No,
Have you ever seen any infomercials on television?
not that I remember. I'm not interested in that.
So your testimony then is that you've never heard the defendant's voice prior to June 12, 1994.
No, I never watched football. So doesn't interest me.
Have you heard the defendant's voice on anything else?
Maybe I heard one. Maybe the Hertz commercial. I might have heard one time or something.
Okay. Well, you recall that those commercials involving the defendant for Hertz used to run rather often, correct?
Yeah,
They were everywhere.
2 or 3 times. I don't remember.
And the defendant would talk in those commercials. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And you can recognize the defendant's voice if you hear it, can't you?
Yeah, I can recognize him probably. Probably.
May I proceed? Your Honor?
Proceed.
You recognize the voice that you heard, the second voice as the defendant's voice, didn't you?
The second voice I heard in that alley,
Yes, the voice of the older man, the
No.
very angry voice.
could not recognize it. It was too much noise with the dogs. So how can I recognize the voice? I don't know the man.
Mr. Heidstra, didn't you tell Patricia Barrett that the voice that you heard was the voice of the defendants?
Never ever said that.
Didn't you tell Patricia Barrett, quote, "I know it was O.J., it had to be him," unquote?
No, I never said that. Absurd. Absurd.
And didn't you tell Ms. Barrett that exact same thing in July of 1994?
I said that to her July.
Didn't you?
I never said that to her. Never, ever. To nobody I've said that.
Yesterday when you were testifying, you told us that you first heard the dog barking at about 10:30 or 10:35. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And after you said 10:30 or 10:35, Mr. Cochran asked you a series of... No, he doesn't.
Overruled.
And after you first said 10:30 or 10:35, Mr. Cochran asked you a series of questions about what you heard at 10:35. Is that correct?
What I heard 10, yes, exactly, yeah.
And so when you testified yesterday that you first heard the dog barking at 10:30 or 10:35, what you meant to convey to us was that you were giving us an approximate time. Is that correct?
That question, this states what you said yesterday.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Yes, it was about that time,
Okay.
between 10:30 and 10:35.
Okay. You didn't know the exact time that you first heard the dog barking, did you?
No, exactly on the minute. No.
You didn't look at your watch when you first heard the dog barking.
No,
Okay. By the way, how many watches do you wear?
just one, that's enough.
And after you heard that dog barking, sometime around 10:30 or 10:35, right?
All right.
No. You already testified that you don't know whether the dog had been barking earlier. This is just the first time that you heard the dog barking,
Overruled.
correct?
Yes.
Then you backed up and you walked down the alleyway,
Right,
right?
right.
Then you heard the two voices.
Yes,
Correct. When you heard these voices, you didn't hear three voices?
two voices.
You didn't hear the voices of three men?
Not I heard only two voices.
Just two.
Two voices.
And you continue to walk down the alleyway. Is that correct?
I stopped to listen to the voices for
Now-
a minute.
Okay. Now, to go back to the time for a moment, when you met me on May 29, 1995, that's Memorial Day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You told my investigators, Mr. Stevens and Mr. Thompson, that you heard the dog barking at 10:30. Is
10,
that correct? Is that correct?
10:35, 10:30, 10:35, something.
But didn't you tell them that you heard the dog barking at 10:30?
Don't recall that.
Do you recall telling them 10:30 and not qualifying that in any shape or form?
Overruled.
About 10:30, 35. Might have said 10:30, but it was 10:30 and 10:35.
It could have been 10:25 or 10:30, couldn't it?
No. Never said that.
You never said that.
25, no.
You never said 10:25.
No.
But you never checked your watch after you left the house, correct?
Overruled.
You never checked your watch after you left the house, did you?
No.
Now, the clock that you looked at, when you noted it was 10:15 before leaving the house, where is that clock located?
Not the clock, my watch.
Okay, you looked at your watch.
This watch, yes.
And that's a nice watch. Can I just see it for a moment?
It's not,
And that's a Peugeot quartz watch, right?
yes.
And when prior to June 12, 1994, had you set the watch?
It's a battery. I never set it. It goes automatic. I
You never set the watch?
No, never.
What about daylight savings time? When that occurs to you?
Well, that might have happened. Yeah, I had to change it.
Okay, so you do reset the watch sometime.
Well,
And that watch that you're wearing, that's not a digital watch, is it?
no,
And that watch doesn't have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 around the face of it, does it?
no.
It has some thin lines.
Yeah, right.
Right? And so when you tell us that you heard the dog barking at 10:30, that's an approximation, isn't it?
10:30, 10:35, around that time.
Could it have been 10:29 or 10:34?
No. Well, it could be just a little before, maybe, yes, but
Okay,
I know my walk with the dog.
okay. Is that what you're basing this timing on, your walks with the dogs?
Exactly as a routine, I do it for years, and I know exactly the time.
Doesn't it only take you 10 minutes to walk to that alley with the dogs?
Where?
10 minutes. Doesn't it usually only take 10 minutes to get to that alley when you walk your dogs?
With my old dog who has arthritis, how could I do that? It's impossible.
Well, you're walking around the block, right?
Around the block, yes.
Okay. You're not walking to Santa Monica or someplace like that,
No.
right?
The dog take me a long time. The investigator, you saw my dog, didn't you?
Let me ask you this if I can. Since you work next door to the defendant's home at Rockingham, you've driven to the Salingers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right next door to the defendant's house, right?
Right.
You can drive from your house to the defendant's house in 4 minutes.
Not during the week.
But how about on a Sunday night?
Rephrase the question.
Okay. Well, the traffic is fairly heavy during the week,
Sure.
but that night, that Sunday night, the traffic was very light, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the night was very quiet.
Right.
Not much traffic on the street at all, right?
No.
No other cars other than that? Well, you saw 2 cars in this white
Right.
vehicle.
Yeah.
Would you agree that someone leaving that intersection at Dorothy and Bundy could drive to 360 Rockingham in 4 minutes or less?
Overrule.
If he's speeding, yes, maybe he could do that, yeah.
And the white vehicle that you saw accelerated rapidly as it turned the corner. Is that correct?
Sustain. Rephrase the question.
Okay. How would you describe the way the white vehicle took off when it made that right turn at Dorothy and Bundy?
It stopped quickly, and then it accelerated quick into Bundy.
Do you usually watch the same news station every night?
No, mostly it's Channel 7, I guess.
And who was doing the news that night, June 12th, on Channel 7?
Don't remember that. I don't know by name the people.
Is that the channel that you watched? That is Channel 7?
It could have been 7, yeah. It should have been 7, yeah.
Well, is that the channel that you watched the night of June 12th?
I'm quite sure it was, yes.
Now, had you watched the basketball game earlier that day?
Don't remember there was a basketball game. I don't remember that.
You do like basketball, though.
I love it.
You don't recall that the Houston Rockets were playing the championship series that day?
Don't recall. No, absolutely not. I like it, but I don't recall that at all. I must have watched it.
And you told us that when you got home, they were just announcing the news. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. They were giving the teaser, sort of letting you know what was coming up on the news that night?
Right.
Doesn't that sometimes occur, that is, that teaser, doesn't it sometimes occur before 11 o'clock?
I don't think, no, they were just announcing the were 11 o'clock news.
Well, you just told us that they were announcing what was going to be coming up on the 11 o'clock news.
No.
Overrule. Actually, rephrase the question.
I asked you a moment ago if they were giving a teaser, sort of to let you know what was coming up on the news that night.
No, that was not like that.
And your response to that question was right.
No, then I misunderstood you because it was starting. They announced the news.
So that the record is clear, didn't you just testify a moment ago that that you saw the teaser on TV when you came into the house?
Overrule.
I misunderstood that the news was just starting. It was just how they announced the news.
And
It was not that the news was coming. It was already there.
and you don't know who the anchors were that night?
No doubt. No, don't remember. I don't know the names.
Now, at some point you realized that Nicole Brown had been killed, murdered, over at
Sure.
the condo, correct?
Sure.
Did you go over there and watch and see what the police were doing over there?
No. I heard it in the morning when I was shaving myself double murdered on Bundy. And the helicopters were all over Brentwood.
Did you see police cars when you went outside?
No, I heard only the helicopters. I said, what's going on? What's going on? And then I turned the TV on.
And you knew that you'd been over at Bundy and
Oh, yes, when I turned the TV on and I saw the news and the gate, I was in shock. I said, that's what happened last night.
you realized then that you'd heard someone yelling, "Hey, hey, hey," and the very angry voice of an older black man.
No
correct?
black man, sir.
Sustain, rephrase the question.
Well, you realized that you'd heard someone yelling, "Hey, hey, hey," in a second voice, correct?
Yeah.
And you realized then, I take it, that you heard these noises coming from 875 South Bundy, right?
Yeah.
And you knew that you'd heard this gate slam at 875 South Bundy, right?
Right?
And you knew Nicole Brown lived there, right?
Yeah, I've seen her before there.
You knew she was murdered, right?
Yeah.
You knew the police were investigating the murder,
Right?
and I take it that you went over and you talked to the police.
I didn't talk to the police there, no.
You didn't go over to the police officers and tell them what you'd heard?
No?
You didn't telephone the police station?
No. It came to that Patty, that secretary.
Patricia Barrett?
Patricia, sorry. Yeah.
The first person you told anything about this was Patricia Barrett?
No, her boss, the doctor, and he gave it to her, told her because she was a friend of Goldman, she told me. So she called the detectives up that she had somebody who knows had the information. So they.
Do you watch any news stations other than Channel 7?
Yes, sometimes other ones do.
Okay, you watch Channel 9,
Not too much, no.
13, 11?
No, mostly to 2, 4, and 7, and CNN.
Okay. Is it possible that the station you watched that night, that Sunday night, was not Channel 7?
No, I'm not quite sure it was 7.
I mean, you said you're quite sure, you're positive?
Not possible, but it was quite sure. That's always I watch it at night, 7.
Okay. Well, when you say that you're quite sure and not positive, does that mean then that you have some question in your own mind as to which station it was that you watched?
No, that's always it's Channel 7 for me to watch it.
Well, if you always watch Channel 7 News,
Most of the time, yes.
if you usually watch Channel 7 News,
Yeah.
then you must know who the anchors are on the weekends, right?
We've asked
Okay.
this question already.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Heidstra, you expected to be called by the prosecution in this case, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought so, they would call me.
And when I say called, you
Subpoena.
expected to be called to testify in this trial as a prosecution witness, is that correct?
Sure.
And when you realized that you were not going to be called to testify, you were surprised, is that right?
Yeah, I was very surprised about it because they called me a crucial witness.
Somebody called you a crucial witness?
Yes,
A critical witness?
crucial witness.
Mr. Bailey called you a critical witness, didn't he?
Don't recall that at all.
Pardon me?
I don't recall that.
Well, don't you have in your possession a letter that Mr. Bailey gave you?
Yeah, that's the letter.
It's an 8.5 by
Yeah,
10 letter?
right. It's in a plastic.
It's a letter from Mr. Bailey to you?
Yeah, it said Robert.
Do you have that letter here with you today?
No.
Did you have that letter laminated, Mr. Heidstra?
No, they gave it to me like that.
They gave you a laminated letter?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No idea.
At any event, you expected that you could make some money in this case as a result of this case, if you were called to testify by the prosecution, is that correct?
Yes.
And in fact, didn't you tell Mr. Field that someone in the DA's office told you you can make money?
Nobody, DA, nobody told me that.
No one in the DA's office ever told you you can make money if you testify in this case?
No, I talked only to the Mr. Payne, and he never told me that.
Didn't you tell Mr. Field that someone in the DA's office told you you can make money?
I never told Mr. Field that at all.
Isn't it true, Mr. Heidstra, that after you realized that you wouldn't be called by the prosecution, that you decided that you would do whatever you could to make sure you were called by the defense in this case?
Not at all, not at all.
Well, after I visited you on May 29, 1995,
Yes.
you telephoned the defense, didn't you?
Sure, yes.
And you told the defense that I'd been there.
Sure.
And you told the defense you didn't like me very much.
No, you were not very pleasant with me.
Can I use that word, Your Honor?
Unpleasant?
The other word.
Yes, you may.
You told the defense that you weren't impressed with me.
Not impressed. You were not very pleasant, very cool with me.
You told the defense that I was an asshole. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Hold
did you tell?
Hold on, why don't you confer with Mr. Cochran for a moment?
Thank you. Your witness. I apologize. No, your witness.
Mr. Darden?
Yes. Sorry. Did you tell Patricia Barrett that you thought I was an asshole?
Never said that at all.
Did you tell Patricia Barrett that you were going to come here and testify?
You want me to answer?
As a witness subpoenaed by the defense?
Yes.
And you were going to help the defendant by your testimony?
Give my testimony. I didn't say help. I said just give the truth, what I know.
And you told Ms. Barrett that you expected the defendant to show you his appreciation, didn't you?
Not at all. I was on their side, so I guess they appreciate that I was on their side.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that answer?
That I believe that they appreciated that I was on their side, that I testified for them.
Didn't you tell Ms. Barrett that he, O.J. Simpson, is going to kiss you when he gets out of prison?
I don't know what she gets this from. This is absurd. Absurd.
And you told Ms. Barrett that you're going to be his witness, the defendant's witness, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I was on the side of the subpoenaed by the defense.
And you told Ms. Barrett that it's because of you that the defendant is going to go free, didn't you?
How do I know that? Could I know that?
And you told Ms. Barrett, quote, I'm going to make money when all of this is finished.
Oh, it's a joke. We tell that. You say, maybe I make some money.
Mr. Heidstra. Jeez. Regardless of whether you heard the dog bark at 10:35, 10:30, or 10:40, there's still sufficient time for someone to drive from 875 Bundy.
Sustained.
If someone left 875 South Bundy at 10:35, will they have enough time to drive to 360 North Rockingham and arrive by 10:52?
Overruled. He's familiar with the two locations.
Yes?
Yes, he could do it. Yes,
You could arrive there by 10:45, correct?
right? Yes.
May I have one moment, Your Honor? I'm almost done.